continue, I want to introduce you our next speaker. It's Joe Robbins from Unity, and he will tell us about the new possibility of Unity platform.
Okay.
Let's welcome him.
Thank you. So yes, what's new with Unity? That's what I'm going to be talking to you all about today. I'm going to do a kind of a mix, a little bit of some slides and a presentation, but mostly I'll be showing a live demo of Unity 4. So, who am I? This is me with an MP5 submachine gun, proving that people who play video games, it does not make them a good shot, and it does not make them violent. I'm terrible at shooting submachine guns. And I'm the community evangelist at Unity Technologies. I do a lot of work with the Unity user groups, with organizing game jams and competitions, as well as traveling around and doing talks like this. I started out as a 3D artist, so my background's primarily from that background. I used 3D Studio Max, that's my 3D tool of choice. And then around 5 years ago, I discovered Unity, back when it was only on Mac. It didn't have the PC version, so quite a while back, even before the iOS version of Unity was released. So I've been using it for a while, and around 3 years ago, I was hired at Unity, and I moved out to Copenhagen to work there. And since then, I've had a bunch of different roles within Unity, doing demos and presentations and all kinds of different projects. And this is kind of where I am now as a community evangelist. So our main development studio is based in Copenhagen in Denmark. All of our developers develop from their Viking longship in the fjord. And this is how the team looked. Around when I first started, there was a few more people just after that. I think that was in 2008. This is 2010, I believe. This was at Unite in Montreal. This is 2011 at our annual event Unite in San Francisco. And this one is from this year's Unite, which was in Amsterdam. Still going. And I've made that nice and easy to see so everyone can see all of the faces there. One thing to notice as well, you can probably see it in the background of this picture. I'm sat on the front row at the bottom there. But as well, if you look on the top left, I'm also poking my head up at the top as well. We started a cloning program at Unity in order to increase the ranks of people, and it's become a bit of a joke. So actually on the company profile picture on the website, there is 2 versions of me, which is quite odd. So I'll go into a little bit about Unity. For those of you who aren't familiar, basically it's a game engine and tool set in order to create multi-platform games and interactive 3D. And military simulations and medical simulations. It's used in a huge amount of different industries, not just games. One of the main real benefits, I guess, of Unity is this theory of rapid iteration. So you can create your game, you can test things, you can update, you can test things and update, and don't have to wait for long compile times and builds. It's all about this kind of nice feedback loop, so you can quickly make changes and test things without having to go through a lot of process. The next good thing is the asset pipeline. It's very, very easy to import assets directly into Unity, modify them, change them, but then take those source assets, and Unity takes care of handling them for the various platforms. So you could have a really big high-resolution texture that you're using on your PC and Mac ports, but then say you want to put it onto iOS or Android, Unity takes care of choosing the right compression types, rescaling the graphics for you. So there's a lot of hard work that Unity does for you. It also scales with your company and product as well. We do have a standard online sales setup, so you can purchase the various different options of Unity. It starts with a free version, so you can download it for free and try it out and try out some of the features, not all of them. Then beyond that, there's the Pro version, so you can go in and take advantage of some of the more advanced features. But we always try to kind of scale with the company and the product that you're working on. So, for example, say you're just starting out and you're not too sure whether or not you want to use Unity, you can start with the free version, maybe contact our sales guys and they could sort you out with a full extended trial of the other features that you'd want to make use of, by which time you've maybe made some money from a publishing deal or whichever way, in which case you can slowly ramp up. So it's pretty flexible, and actually more flexible than just what's available to you on the online store. So yeah. And Unity 4, there's a lot of new things coming in Unity 4 very soon. It's currently in a kind of a public beta at the moment. So anyone who's pre-ordered Unity 4 or wants to pre-order Unity 4 can get access to the open beta straight away and start ramping up production with Unity 4 already. And let's go through some of the features here just on a list. So first of all, one of the biggest improvements and changes really is the Mechanim character animation system, which I'll do a brief demo of. It's been around a couple of years ago now. We acquired a company in Canada, which were a bunch of guys that used to be working on Human IK and Motion Builder and all of these kind of industry tools for dealing with motion capture data and character animation. And they built a whole solution for character animation inside of Unity that has some like unique tech for processing character animation very well, which is super interesting. We then have our Flash export option now pretty much fully ready to go. We've had a developer preview that you've been able to download and try out up until this point, but now it's full featured and being launched with Unity 4. We also have, in a similar way to the way we did the preview of Flash, we also have now Linux standalone. Should you so desire to go to Linux, that's an option now as well. We have DirectX 11 support for Windows, so you can do some very fancy stuff with that, which is nice. Skinned mesh instancing is maybe a slightly obscure one, but it's really, really good. It allows you to do any kind of skinned mesh rendering very, very quickly. So rendering of crowds and things like that is a very, very good thing. I can show you some cool stuff with that. This one's big. This is dynamic fonts on mobile. This has been asked for by a lot of people for a long time. So it makes things super helpful. I'll show you that one. That one's makes a huge difference. It's been needed for a while. There's also some really good project browser improvements that I'll go through with you. Real-time shadows on mobile as well, which again for mobile is very very nice. And there's much more as well. So let's start doing a demo. Where did it go? Here we are. Let's get this lined up a little bit. It's squeezed onto a relatively small resolution, but I'll zoom in on the key areas. So yeah, this is Unity. If you've not ever seen it before, you should really download it. But this is the basic thing you'll be presented with. It may be in a different layout. The default layout's different to how I tend to have it, but I tend to go with the 2x3. I think it's more familiar for me anyway. I'm being from a 3D background. It tends to mirror 3D Max a little bit for me, a little bit of Maya as well. So yeah, this is Unity. You have a scene view here. This is where you construct your levels and scenes, menus, all that kind of stuff. You then have the game view below that, which currently is just blue, and that shows you what your game looks like through the camera. You then have the hierarchy, which lists all of the objects that are currently within your scene. And the project view, which is the one that's currently been added a bunch of new things to, which allows you to view all of your assets that are inside your project and import them into your scenes and organize things. Finally, there we also have the inspector, which is kind of the context-sensitive way of modifying all of your objects. So, for example, I have a main camera here, and it has a bunch of different things that I can modify. Field of view, I could change the background color here, for example. So those are the basic windows that you tend to see by default when starting up Unity. There is some additional ones for animation and other things, but that's the basic set. So let's have a look at the project view first of all. This has changed quite a bit since the last time. But basically the idea is that you have all of your assets listed here. So we have some scenes, we have some objects, some scripts here, and it's all laid out as you want it to be. But one of the additions that we have that's really useful is this favorites menu. So for example, I can click here, all materials, and it'll show me all of the different materials that exist within my project. All meshes, and it goes through all of them, and all scripts. But it doesn't stop there because, whoop, I almost deleted that one. Because in addition to that, you can create your own favorite lists as well, which is incredibly helpful to improve workflow. So we've got all materials selected right now, and you'll see that it has this text up here in the search bar. So it has the T and then the colon, which is to denote that it's a type that it's searching for, and it's searching for the type of material. But if I were to go, say, texture, it can then list all of the textures. But then in addition to that, maybe I want a search that only brings up textures, and I have a naming convention for my normal maps where I have NM in the name, and it will show me all of my normal maps. And if I like that, I can then hit create a new one, and I can create a new texture, normals, search filter. So you can really speed up the way you work by having some clever naming conventions and using the favorites. In addition to that, we've also hooked up the project view to the asset store. So those who aren't familiar with the asset store, it's probably not going to be accessible with my lack of internet here. We'll see. But the asset store is pretty much like the Apple Mac store kind of thing, except it's scripts, animations, audio, meshes, geometry, created by developers that use Unity for developers that use Unity. And it's kind of like an online store, so maybe we can refresh here and see whether it actually does work. Yes. So, for example, we've got Fast GUI here, which is a whole GUI system, taking Photoshop to Unity. That's quite nice. And we kind of just have an ongoing amount of content that people submit to us. They sell, so they get money for selling their own projects. And interestingly, there's lots of Unity developers that used to be working within a company who created a nice extension to Unity, started selling it on the asset store, and then found out that it was so successful that they could leave their normal job and then go and work on whatever they wanted. So obviously that's not absolutely everyone, but there's certainly it's certainly an option to kind of do middleware for middleware in a way, which is kind of cool. So yeah, that's the asset store. But what we've done with Unity 4 is to link the project view with the asset store. So I can do a search. I'll do a search for zombie. And I can search. I don't have any zombies in my project, but I can go to the asset store now, and it lists all of the free assets and all of the paid assets that include the word zombie, which is pretty mind-blowing actually. So I've got a fat zombie here, and it shows me like the preview and all of the details there, how much it is to download, what the price is if it's a paid one. You can buy it, look at the rest of the things in the asset store. So that's kind of a cool new feature. Got some zombie textures, quite disgusting. So yeah, that's some of the updates to the project view. It's pretty nice to, once you get used to the workflow, it's really nice to start going through it. Really improves things. Maybe now I'll go on and show a little bit of the dynamic text stuff. And I should also keep an eye on the time. So I've got a GUI text element in my scene here. It doesn't currently have any text in, but if I, there we go. So we have this dynamic font thing, and in addition to that, we can use an HTML style markup to actually modify this. So if I go like this, oop, wrong way around. Danish keyboard is confusing. There we go. I can put it as an italic, and when I enable this checkbox, I can see it like this. It's using HTML style markup, which is very helpful. In addition to that, I can also do non-standard English as well. So I prepared this earlier. Hopefully, it makes sense. We'll see. I'll just maximize this a little. Does that actually make sense? Yes. Normally Google Translate fails me. But yeah, so it allows you to do a huge amount of new interesting things and obviously target lots of different localized areas with this, which is kind of nice. So that's GUI text. What else have we got going on in Unity? I guess I'll do a brief introduction to the Mechanim animation system. There's a lot of detailed videos and overviews on this online that you probably want to check out, but I'll give you a basic overview here. I've got a couple of scenes. Actually, first, maybe I'll go to the crowd first. So this is the skinned mesh instancing that I was talking about before. So I have a crowd, or actually just a crowd of one at the minute with this one guy, this little robot guy. And if I hit play, craziness. And this is all happening on the fly. So I've got some stats in the top corner here. So it's only 100 draw calls, thereabouts, 100 frames per second, which is more than adequate. Yes. To create this scene out of nothing, without any art assets to start with, with assets and everything. Not too long. I mean, I can show you the actual scene itself. So we've got the floor, which is a big single asset that we've just dropped in. What else have we got? And that's got a lot of hexes that have just been linked together. We've got some lights, which are actually disabled at the minute, but I can enable those. We have some settings. We have this prefab for this character. This character's only got an animation component and a script that tells it to walk about randomly. And I can show you that script. So it's that much code. We also have a spawn point, which gives you the option to spawn objects. And that's all of that code, so not much there. Yeah, in this case it was set to 100, so you see the spawn count here is 100. Maybe I could see how it handles 1,000. I'm gonna not just yet. I'll try 200, see what it does with that. So it's still 40 frames per second. That's not too bad. 1,000 could be pushing it. I don't want to break my machine in the middle of my presentation. So yeah, that's some of the skinned mesh instancing stuff. It's also very much linked with the Mechanim character animation stuff as well. With Mechanim, I'll do a very brief intro to this because I've only got like 5 minutes left. But the thing with Mechanim is that you have a whole new way of importing your characters, and it does some incredibly cool stuff. So if I select some animation here, let me just So I got this dude, maybe this guy. Oop. Let me just switch off the internet so I'm not getting. So yeah, the idea is that you can import your animation, and then traditionally with Unity you'd have a series of animation clips associated with one guy. What Unity does now is that it has this concept of muscle space, which is this whole new kind of tech that the Mechanim guys are working on. And the idea with that is that you can import a character, assign all of the different bone structure of your character, and then map different animations onto that character from anywhere. Along with that as well, with the integration of the project asset view stuff, we have a ton of mocap data available for free on the Unity store. So you can take that mocap data, drop it onto your characters within Unity, and they're automatically just moving around nicely. You set all of the extents for each individual character. So for example, I could go in and check this guy out. Just check that avatar dude's working. Oop. And you can configure that. So I'll just bring this up. So yeah, this is how you import a character. Generally, it'll use standard naming conventions and automatically assign all of the different bones and hierarchy of your character. And then you go into the muscle space, and you can adjust these parameters to the extent that everything can move. So you can test out your character, make sure it's moving and not going too far in each direction. And then you can modify on a per bone setting how much each level stretches and pulls. So that means that even if you've got like a really tall character or a really short character or a character with long arms or a character with short arms, the same animation data can be mapped to each of them at zero cost, which is pretty mind-blowing. There's a whole nother layer to Mechanim beyond that, which is actually controlling your characters through blend trees and state machines. That's a whole full other section, but I think my time is up, so I'm going to have to call it there. But if you go to unity3d.com or video.unity3d.com, there's lots of cool videos there to check out a more advanced look at Mechanim if you're interested.
Thank you very much. I'm sorry we haven't time for questions, but you can ask all your questions personally after this presentation. Thank you very much.
Cool, thanks.